Welcome back to another video where I go over positions that my business partner and I have in our portfolio. In this video, I will go over our Alibaba long position, which I have posted about in the past. We are currently in this particular account up $31,257, and basically the reasons for entering will be shared within this video, and I've also made a video in the past while we were down unrealized about $10,000, where obviously I've heard people have different opinions, but we trusted our thesis. We forgot about the noise and we just trusted that our experience alongside with our analysis and our constant monitoring, that we were at a place where the downside risk was smaller than the potential upside reward if we are correct, right? So let's go over basically the thinking behind Alibaba. And if we look past the chart, basically China post-COVID has been in a struggle to recover anywhere near what the rest of the world has done. There are several factors to this, but the main factors to me were the fact that China failed to open up their economy as quickly as the rest of the world did, causing them to lag behind the rest of the world, alongside with a real estate crisis that has been ongoing and still continues to this day, alongside with other worries of risks of having investments into a country that can have a there are risks with owning companies within countries that can make moves geopolitically which can cause sanctions, and essentially there is risk of having money tied to these companies for possible unforeseen actions that can happen, right? So China's market was a very unfavorable place to be in for most investors. But one thing that we do look for is, where does nobody want to be that eventually people will likely want to be, right? And Alibaba seemed like the perfect place when we are looking at our exposure to having companies that are exposed to China's market, right? So as I've mentioned in the past, they are currently ongoing a property crisis. They have high unemployment. They have a deflationary environment, and the Chinese consumer still has not been able to make the steps forward in order for us to see appreciation in terms of consumption and prices within the Chinese economy. So for these reasons, China looked very dull. Yet if we take a look at the charts and if we look at the actual price now relative to where it's been in the past, we can see that investors are quite pessimistic about China's economy as a whole, right? So if we look at the Hang Seng Index, which basically, see how far IB can go back. So if we look from 2018 down to where we were recently, basically prices were down, basically cut in half, right? And then post-COVID, we had this clear downtrend, right? We're looking at the charts now, filtering out all the noise, and then we basically broke above this downtrend line, tested, and started to rebound here. So the model that I look at, obviously it is nowhere near the same, but somewhat rhymes to what we've seen in the past. Is China relevant to, or China in relation to what we saw in the US in 2008? A huge property crisis, multiple defaults across the board, a weak consumer, high unemployment, and China was trying to do everything that they can in order to stimulate the economy. And obviously I believe what I sense is that they are trying to avoid turning on the printers at all costs. But I'm reading this off a list here, but some of the macro factors that China has done is they obviously lowered their interest rates. They reduced the reserve requirement ratio, meaning how much they can lend out relative to the equity that they own. They were selling government bonds. They are providing liquidity for stock market purchases. So they're doing whatever they can in order to stimulate the economy through monetary and fiscal policy, which can have a real effect into the smaller assets as we see. I say small, but it trickles down into Chinese assets as we have seen recently, basically looking at the Hang Seng index. And now if we pull up our BABA position, right, we're starting to see very similar patterns. Huge downtrend. Obviously, Alibaba took a massive hit relative to its all-time highs, right? We were trading at 321, came all the way down to $70, right? We put in this low here, we put in a higher low, we started to go sideways, we broke out, kind of, I think, if you look at the charts, we're starting to trap people here, and then now we have seen the stimulus come out once again after multiple efforts, yet this time the market has taken it much more seriously than it has in the past, right? And really, if we look at the chart, like, you don't even have to understand the story behind the move, right? We have this level here, we have this level here, we have this compression here, we have the breakout, we have the news, we have the gap. You could just buy this the whole way, and this was a massive move. You have basically a 40% run, and we have not sold a single share across the multiple accounts that we own this at. So the question is, where will we sell? Well, obviously, we're looking at China as if there is going to be a complete rebound, similar to what buying stocks in the US during the 2008 financial crisis would have been, right? And if you manage to hold that for the next 5-10 years, you could have tripled or quadrupled your investments had you bought in at the right time. So for us, I see Alibaba trading upwards of 150. Hopefully we could see 200s, but obviously we have to take this day by day, continue to stay zoomed out. And what I would hope to see is for us to get a correction in the US markets, and for some of those flows to start to go into these Chinese companies as it starts to gain more attention. So considering the fact that we've had this substantial move recently, the tone has changed drastically, and I think despite us selling off every time we have rallied, now that prices have based out, we might actually see more constructive price action towards the targets that I do have in mind. So that is the vision on Alibaba. That was the thinking for how we entered. And if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe and give us a like. Thanks for watching.